And so I believe that anyone, anytime, anywhere can become anything they want to be if they're willing to put in the work. Because if I don't see that I'm able to put points on the board, does my existence even matter? I was still bothered by what I just lost, but I was also excited about what I can do next. And so then it was like, well, wait a minute, who are you going to speak to? If you have 2 ears and a heartbeat, I want to speak to you. And so I made up my mission and my scoreboard, and I said, I want to be the person everybody speaks to right before they get ready to do something they don't even believe they can do.
Welcome to Limitless Minds, the podcast where curiosity meets greatness. If you're ready to discover what it takes to be truly limitless and push beyond your own limits, you're in the right place.
Welcome back to the Limitless Mind. Success leaves clues podcast.
Clues.
Yeah. I maybe we should do it one of these days, like the monster trucks.
Yeah.
Success leaves clues.
Yeah, we could do it like, was it the electric company? Remember back in the day, it was success, clues, success, clues, success leaves clues. No, am I losing you? No,
Yeah, no,
Electric company?
that's a vague memory.
Yeah.
Vague is a great word, by the way.
It is.
Just throwing that out there.
It's spelled the way that it means,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It fits. It
Yeah.
fits.
Is that called onomatopoeia?
I don't know. Don't cuss during the podcast, Josh. We are losing listeners quickly.
Yes, we are. But
Yeah.
they're not gonna gonna get, once we get our guest on today, they're not gonna leave.
They're going to stick around.
Anytime
Amazing,
soon,
amazing
he's
guest.
a phenomenal speaker, a phenomenal mindset, and has been around some of the best coaches in the world. So excited to have him on. We'll explain who we have coming in. But before we do that, as always,
I got my dipping sauces out for my
we got to do some
nuggets.
Nooch
Yes.
nuggets.
Got some Nooch nuggets.
Now, Travis, I know you've had a lot going on soccer-wise recently.
Yes.
As seasons are ending.
Yes.
Does your Nooch nugget have to do with soccer, or does it not have to do with soccer?
It does.
Okay.
It does. Yes.
So let's go with yours, because mine does not. Mine is an add-on to a previous Nooch nuggets.
Oh, I love it.
So why don't you go first, and then I'll do my add-on, and then we'll
Awesome.
then we'll get
Perfect.
Thomas in here.
All right. So the context of my Nooch nugget is I'm with St. Louis University, right? So we're in the NCAA tournament, and then my son, who's a senior in high school, he was in the state semifinals and then finals this weekend for soccer. So I had SLU Thursday night, my son Friday game, Saturday final, and then Sunday I drove to Bloomington, Indiana for SLU versus Indiana in the second round. And so my son scored in the semifinal, Josh, but they lost in the final, but it was an exciting run. SLU on Thursday, we were losing by a goal. It's a 90-minute game with 3 or 4 minutes left in the game. And like, we just throwing everything at the kitchen sink, and we find a way to tie the game in regulation. And then we're in overtime. And in college, it's 2 10-minute overtimes, sudden death or sudden goal, whatever you want to call it. So if you can score in overtime, game's over. And so we play the first 10 minutes, no score. And you're bringing the guys in each time. And right, like they're 100 minutes into the game at this point. The tanks are empty, right? The emotions are high, right?
They probably run at least 6 miles, 10K, right? At this point, right?
Our freshman kind of forward, who had his first 2 goals of the season that ended up being the game winner, he logged almost 10 miles during the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we've got, like, everyone, you're keeping the spirits up, right? The self-talk, the language that you're using, right? And so the Nooch nugget for me was, you're in that environment, that high stress environment. And so you're being very conscious of your feelings versus your language, what you're feeling versus what you're saying, staying neutral, staying behavior driven, encouraging instead of, and this one player came off, his name's Drake, awesome guy. And I hear him say to the team, Josh, pass the baton. And I was like, oh, that's genius. I love it. And so we ended up winning the game in overtime, right? So I'm doing a team session with the guys a day, or I think the next day. And I was like, hey, Drake, when you said pass the baton during overtime, I'm like, what did you mean? I think I knew what he meant. I'm like, what did you mean? He goes, what I meant was, like, hey, for everybody, like, just empty your tank effort-wise, right? Empty your tank and then pass it on to someone else, right? And let them take it from there. And I just thought it was just this beautiful, like, connection to me to the neutral was like, You don't have to do everything yourself, right? Like just do the work, right? Focus on what you can do and then trust your teammates, pass it on, pass the baton. And I was like, oh, I love that.
Love that.
I love that. And
Love
so the message then became from there. And I was like, all right, sometimes we need to pass the baton, but what do we also have to do? We got to take the baton, right? You've got to be ready to take it, right? Because when someone passes it to you, you've got to take it. Now you've got to commit and you've got to you got it right. Stay neutral, focus on the job, focus on the task, empty your tank. And then what do? I'm going to pass it to Josh, and Josh is going to take it. He's going to empty his tank. What's he going to? He's going to pass it back to me, or he's going to pass it to someone else. And it's that neutral mindset of don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about the result. Just focus on what you're doing right now, right? Empty the tank, pass the baton, take the baton. And so I'm like, oh, dude, that's a future chapter in a book right there. And
so wait, what happens in the game?
We won in overtime.
Okay.
Yeah, we won in overtime. And so we won in overtime. Boom. So now we moved to second round. So we had to go and play our second round game on Sunday. 2.5 days later, we had to play against Indiana, who got a first round bye. They're the number 6 team in the country, hosting us at Indiana. They're sitting on 2 weeks of rest, a home game. We went in there. We took the baton. We passed the baton. We shocked Indiana. We won 1-0.
Nice.
On to the Sweet 16, Josh.
Congratulations. Now you get to go to Rhode Island.
Now we get to go to Rhode Island. That's where all winners go, is Rhode Island.
Very small state. That's amazing. That's amazing. I think I love that whole mindset of like, here we are and we talk about staying neutral all the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we were just talking. I mean, that's it. I'm gonna go as hard as I can. When I'm done, I'm gonna pass. That's my next right step is pass the baton.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's so good. Sports is the analogy for life, folks.
It really is.
Mine is a tag on from previous.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So if you remember, one of my new nuggets was dealing with this cold tub that I had ordered.
Absolutely.
I had broke
some
some
parts.
They had some missing parts. I got the parts in the mail.
Parts is parts.
So I put them all on the thing. Been using the ice bath twice a day. I'm down. I've gotten myself down to 48 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. So I'm slowly chipping away. It is a little bit chilly. The first 2 minutes, get in there, you're like, you definitely a little like, wow, okay, I'm awake. Okay. But here's the thing. I go to get in on Saturday and I'm ready for my 48-degree bath and it's about 72 degrees in the water.
Okay.
I'm like, this is not cold anymore. So I'm like, and then I'm listening and it's got it's a box, right? And it's like an air conditioner. It kind of kicks on and you can hear it running and it wasn't running. So I'm like, I bought it off of Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of the company. Don't know where the company's based in the world. I knew it was too good to last. I was hoping to get 8 months out of it, but got 3 months out of it. Gonna have to go on and probably buy another one. But then for some reason, instead of running right onto Amazon to buy a new one to just replace it, I decided to start taking it apart. So I pulled out the pump out of the actual bath.
Yeah.
And it was going, but it wasn't pumping any water.
Yeah.
So the reason the big box wasn't running was because there was no water running through the box because the pump wasn't working to get the water from the bath into the box.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I still couldn't do anything about it, but yeah.
Yeah. So then, okay. So I shut everything down, empty the water out because now the water, because it's been sitting for a day and not being moved, it's kind of yucky. So I got to clean that out. Clean out the whole thing. Take the pump, pull the pump apart. And sure enough, it's just full of like goop.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's probably like body oils or I have no clue what it is.
Yeah.
But
stagnant water.
Goop. Yeah, stagnant water, right? It's algae. I'm just forming algae.
If we're not moving, we're dying, Josh.
That's exactly right. So I take the thing apart, scrape off the goop, clean it, use a toothbrush to clean it. Throw that toothbrush away afterwards, just so you know. Did not put my wife's toothbrush
didn't just
back.
Immediately go.
Yeah,
glad you
did not put that toothbrush in my kid's room back in there. Like, hey, Micah, you could use this. Try out the pump again. The pump's now working. Awesome. So now the pump's working. Put it back. It's fine. Don't have to buy a new one.
Fantastic.
But the neutrality was my initial reaction was, hey, let's just go buy a new one. This pissed off.
Piece of junk.
This stinks. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no. Let me look. Let me go that extra mile. Let me dive in. Let me pull this thing apart. And then bam. Now all of a sudden, pump's working. Back down to 48 degrees. Froze my Kentucky off yesterday when I did it.
I love it. It's almost like, right, you had to get neutral in order to identify what the real problem was.
Huh. Look at that.
How about that?
Yeah.
Because we could have here's the thing, Josh. You order the new part, you get a new pump, right? It's just a matter of time before that one goops up as well.
Yep.
And you're like, so like you can just keep repeating the process, or you could actually identify, oh, you know what? I probably need to root out this gook every once in a while. It's not the pump's fault.
Nope.
I love that.
I didn't know you could even take the thing apart. I just started pulling on things.
Yeah.
And it started coming apart. And I was like, oh, I can take this out. Oh, I can take this filter apart. Oh, I can do this. And it was great because now, like you said, now I know. I also have, just so the people listening don't think I'm like a dirt bag. Like I do have like cleaning solutions.
Does anyone think
like
that
chlorine?
Put it in the chat, right?
Just put it in, just text us.
Do you think Josh is a dirt bag? And when you say yes, tell us why.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Outside of the bag.
Josh, speaking of someone who's not a dirt bag.
Not a dirt bag at all. One of the classiest, most wonderful people I've had the opportunity to run across in my life. We're going to have him on in just a second. His name is Thomas Williams. And I met Thomas at the University of Southern California when I was working there as a mental skills coach for some of their athletic teams. And Thomas had actually finished up there. He had graduated there. And he was a member of their NCAA championship teams with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush under the esteemed Hall of Fame coach, Pete Carroll, who we know all too well from Limitless Minds and Russ. But then, what was great is that Thomas had success there as a linebacker, special teams guy, goes to the NFL, gets drafted into the NFL, and then bounces around, plays for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different teams in 6 different years. It's the nature of the NFL.
Yep.
Can be like that sometimes. Ends up having to leave the NFL after his 6th year with a neck injury. So he didn't retire on his own. He retired because he had gotten injured, and then moved into the space of leadership and executive coaching. He specifically works as a proud member of the John Gordon speaking team, and he's dedicated to developing positive leaders and fostering stronger, more connected teams.
I have a feeling, Josh, that we're going to hear some clues of success.
We are. So without waiting any longer, let's just get Thomas in here. Thomas, come on in. Welcome in, Thomas. We are so happy to have you here. So excited to be blessed with your presence. And we're just gonna dive in. First of all, Thomas, how are you, man? What are you doing this week to be grateful and to get ready to, engorge yourself on Thursday? What are you doing?
Josh, so here's the thing. So it's 39 degrees here in Denver. A buddy of mine dropped off his daughter. Our kids go to the same school, and he was running outside. And so I planned to go work out, and I was like, I need to go outside because it's getting ready to snow here. So me being grateful this week, starting off on Monday, is I'm thankful I had an opportunity to run outside. Now, the rest of the week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out. And so I'm going to reverse engineer the calories that I'm going to intake on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then I won't feel guilty at all. I mean, another, turkey sandwich, some more sweet potato pie, the candy yams, all those good things that I'm going to take in. I'm just trying to work it off beforehand so that when we get there.
We've been having this discussion at Limitless Minds this week. Dressing or stuffing?
That's a really good question because I don't think I know the difference. I don't think I know the difference. We're gonna get one, so we're making one. I just don't know what my wife's.
Yeah, but do you call it dressing or do you call it stuffing?
I call it stuffing.
Okay, yeah,
for sure. I've heard both though. I've heard both, and maybe there is a difference, or maybe there's not.
I mean, like there isn't really a difference other than the vernacular of it. But like, I think you stuff the bird with the stuff that's called stuffing.
Yeah,
but people are like, no, that's
so.
Dressing.
Do you dress the bird with dressing?
See, no,
you don't.
No, you put gravy on it.
Okay,
put gravy on it. I don't dress the turkey. I eat the turkey. Travis, thoughts?
I'm a vegetarian. Haven't had turkey in about 15 years. You can call it stuffing or dressing. I'll be looking for the tofurkey.
Yes.
No, not a tofurkey fan. No. So yeah, A lot of sides. I'm a sides guy now.
Yeah, a lot of
Since
mashed potatoes, a
becoming
lot
a
of Brussels
vegetarian.
sprouts.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
exactly.
makes sense.
Yep.
I forgot you're a vegetarian.
Still,
That's really
still,
great.
still love the pies and the
That's really
sides.
great.
Do you?
Pies and
So,
sides.
Travis, let me ask you this:
Mhm.
do you miss it, or do you enjoy the smell, and then you just kind of move on to your side of the table?
Yeah. So, Tom, great question. I do. Thank goodness, like the fake meat options nowadays are actually really, really good.
Okay.
And so, quick side note, Thomas, I grew up in a fast food hamburger restaurant.
Uh,
And I consumed more beef and chicken in probably 35 years to last me a lifetime. So I've got to counterbalance that the rest of my life. It still smells good. I'm not offended by it. And thank goodness for fake substitutes, fake meat substitutes, because I'm able to still get enough of my fill
yeah.
without actually eating it.
All right. Good. Then you're not missing anything.
No, not at all.
So we're gonna now start the podcast after
Oh
that
no,
transcript.
you gotta leave that in.
Yeah,
Yep,
after
yep,
that
yep.
transgression. No, of
Mari,
course we're
Mari,
leaving
leave it
that
in,
in.
Mari. Leave it in.
Of course we're leaving that in. But we want to learn about you, Thomas, and we want to learn about kind of like your career. I know that right now you are a public speaker. You work with the John Gordon speaking team, and you work about a lot with leadership and things of that nature. But prior to that, obviously you were an elite level football player, starting at University of Southern California. Right on.
There it is.
Man.
There
Oh,
it is.
Does that get your chili hot?
no, man. It doesn't. And I'll be honest with you, it's very hard to watch mediocre sports after you've achieved a high level of excellence, right? And I think just
Right.
like you alluded to at the beginning of the conversation, the things that I do now with leaders, teams, organizations, it's about pursuing excellence and achieving it. And I think that when you've experienced certain level of success, everything below that is subpar. And I think that when you've won national championships, 1 yard away from winning 3 consecutive, went 59-6. That's not a brag. It's just the facts and the story and the truth. Is that anything below, going to the playoffs, anything below winning national championships, or at least arriving shortly to the doorsteps of those, is a letdown. And so it's hard for me to watch and say we almost won, or when our team is storming the field when we beat a very mediocre team. It's just hard, man. And it doesn't feel like it's the same vibrant atmosphere as it once was. And I know once people are like, well, you're an old fool in an old school. And it's like, I guess so. I am, right? Because we weren't getting NIL deals, and because, there wasn't a transfer portal. And so I understand the landscape has changed. But so hearing the song, it actually makes me, it bothers me. It bothers me, man. Even watching this game this last weekend, they played Oregon. Oregon is a very good football team, has been for a very long time, of course. Awesome. But you got beat by, I think it was 21 points, 14, 21 points, something like that. We turned the game off. And so when you lose, because you know what you can be, you know what you left it as, the legacy. And I always describe it like this. Let's say you have your favorite car and you leave it for your little brother and you're off to college. And then you come back, 4 years later, and you walk in the garage to see your baby, and it's underneath the tarp, and you pull up the tarp and it's like dusty and it's dents in it. And it's like, wait, this isn't what I just left you. Let me show you the picture of what I left you. And so the long story of what you just asked me, a short, easy question, is we left our favorite cars to our little brothers. And this is not the shape we left it in.
I love that, Thomas. And again, this being the Success Leaves Clues podcast, it's easy to look back. So you look back at that chunk of time that you were at USC, which is arguably one of the most successful and dominant times as a program, not only for USC, but for college football. And it's easy to look at the success. If you were to, whether it's Coach Carroll, or whether it's just the program as a whole, for you to be a part of it and then come through it, as you look back on those years, kind of what stands out? Because again, you're coming back and you're like, it's not the same shape as it was. So if you had to say, hey, here's the top 1, 2, 3 things that you felt defined the reason for that success during that time, what shows up for you now at this period of life?
Yeah. Great leaders and organizations do 2 things really well. It's intentionality and consistency. Intentionality. So when we first get to USC, Pete Carroll, he says he picks the shortest player in the freshman class. And he points to the very front of the room where we used to have the skyline of downtown LA. And so you'd have Bank of America building and Citibank, which at that time were the tallest buildings downtown. And he says, the guy's name was Desmond Reed, phenomenal athlete. He says, Desmond, let me take a 2x4 from the Bank of America building to the Citibank building. And let me just run it a straight line. Let's just say it's a straight line. Would you walk across it right now if I gave you $5,000, which is a lot of money to, us non-NIL money guys? I said $5,000. Would you walk across it? And Desmond looks at him. He goes, oh, hell no. And everybody started laughing. And he says, okay, Desmond, what about this? And so he has him come to the front of the room because we used to have a piano in the front. Mm-hmm. And there was like a 2x4 on the top of the piano, right? Give or take some space. And he says, stand up on it. He says, what if I took you from that distance, let's call it 150 feet, from the Bank of America building to the Citibank? Would you walk across it then? Right? You're at 4 feet. He goes, yeah. And then every day I'm going to take you up a foot. And so what he said is eventually over the course of time, you're going to be able to walk across that platform from one building to the next. He said, guys, that's going to be our national championship. That's going to be our Rose Bowl. That's going to be, we don't have to get there today. Mm-hmm. We don't have to play in front of 90,000 people, 100,000 people, millions of people watching around the country. We're going to start by walking on this 2x4 at 4 feet. And then he rolls out the practice agenda. He goes, all right, guys, it is Tell the Truth Monday. And so every day had a theme. It was Tell the Truth Monday, Competition Tuesday, Turnover Wednesday, no turnover Wednesday, repeat, no repeat Thursday, walk through Friday, and a game on Saturday. Coach Carroll said, you only get 1 day a week. Everyone's like, no, you don't. You get 7. He's like, no, you get 1, which means you only get 4 of these a month, which means you're only going to get 12 of these a season. So every day is not the same. That's the intentionality part. Now, the consistency aspect is walking to the same around the same time, freshman orientation before training camp. He says, guys, what's your goal? Everyone's like, Coach, national championship. Okay, what's your goal? I'm going to the league. What's your goal? Going to all these different goals. And then all of a sudden he clicks the clicker and the screen pops up. And he says, our goal is to own the Rose Bowl. What? Own the Rose Bowl? Yeah, every single day. We're going to own the Rose Bowl. Because if you win at that time, the Pac-10, then you get to the Rose Bowl. It was the BCS. It was the computers, strength of schedule, who wins. And so we don't control if we go to the national championship, but what 100% we can control is going to the Rose Bowl, is winning our conference. We lost, I think, my freshman year to Cal, triple overtime. And you know what he came in on that Monday? He said, guys, our goal was not just to win that game. Our goal is to own the Rose Bowl. So he was intentional with the scheduling. He's intentional with the structure of the scheduling, getting us ramped up to get to that ultimate level, that elite status. And then he was very consistent with the goal. And so, guys, how are we going to own the Rose Bowl? Very simple. By doing these 3 simple things better than anybody in the country. We're going to compete in the weight room. If your counterpart, Travis, gets 8 reps, Josh gets 9, Thomas, my goal is to get 10. We're going to compete on the practice field. We're not walking the drills. We're not going to just, you know what, this is a scout team. We are going to compete very intentionally, intensely versus one another. And the third place where we're going to compete is in the film room. So if Josh comes and says, hey, in this formation, guys are lining up in this is the play that they're doing. It's my obligation as a member of this football team to make sure I go home and I study and I say, okay, Josh, I know you got 1 tip. I got 2. Travis goes, okay, I know you guys got 1 and 2, but I got 3 things of tales of what they're going to do. So that when we got to the game on Saturday, it was literally a message of, oh my gosh, Kush, I can't believe you made another tackle. All right, Kush, I'm coming for the next tackle. We weren't even playing against them.
Yeah.
And I know it's like, well, you guys were so talented. Well, we all came in as underdeveloped freshmen, and we all left as elite performing juniors and seniors.
Yeah. Do you think that that's part of it right now too, Thomas? Is that the fact that guys can just bounce? Like, hey man, I'm a freshman. I thought I was going to play. I'm out. I'm going to Auburn later.
It's hard.
Like, yeah. Do you think that that's part of it?
I think that's a huge part of it, Josh. I think the gift is in the growth, and the growth happens in the struggle. And anytime you don't get that growth and struggle, then you don't get the opportunity to receive the gift. And so everything is front facing with whether it's the money, I wanted to play this year, or the coach left, whatever it is. But it's that strain. It's that struggle. I remember the reason why we used to have the saying of, if you had better facilities than us, you didn't earn the right to beat us. which means that our struggle, we had a stereo system
Yeah,
inside.
you guys had that old Rocky gym back then too. It's not the new one.
The one that's
I know,
leaking.
I
It's
know.
leaking through the.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah, it
bucket
was
in the middle
awesome,
of the
bro.
floor. There
It was
towels,
awesome.
so you couldn't
Yeah.
fall. And it was like, but that was what made us. Our stereo system inside the locker room was a shopping cart that somebody, I'm not going to say stole, I'll say borrowed.
Borrowed
That
for
borrowed
success.
from the local meat market, and we had like a CD player that was like one speaker was here, one speaker was on top of another locker to try to give it some type of surround sound. But that was what made us. And so when you have the luxury where you have the options to just bounce around, like what struggle do you have to experience? So why would you have to grow? Why would you have to develop? And so when you don't have to, and you don't have to endure that that difficult aspects, then you're not necessarily sharpening your tooth.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, Thomas, when I think about sort of the current, again, right, the current college landscape, and it's sort of it is what it is. There's the negative side of it, and then you kind of look at the positive side of it as well. And it's like usually if someone's jumping in the transfer portal is for one of two reasons. It's either because they're not at the level where they can stay and
Yeah.
they're going to be able to perform, so they need to level down.
Yeah.
Or you've got guys who realize actually to stay would be comfortable.
Yeah.
So they need to level up.
Yes.
And so there's an actual level of transparency to it as well, which
Yep.
is like, oh, this iron isn't going to sharpen my iron if I
Yes.
stay. Or it's like, ooh, I guess I'm not about this life. I need to level down a little
Right.
bit. So there's almost I've seen the guys that have left the program. So just, at St. Louis University, the soccer program, the guys that have left the program because they thought they were better than they weren't doing the work here. They thought they would do the work better elsewhere. They don't end up succeeding elsewhere.
No, it's a habit. I wanted to quit my freshman year. My mom abruptly told me, Thomas, if you quit now, this will become a habit. But if you stay, and fight it, it will become your identity. And I've written 3 books on adversity overcoming. I've built different businesses in different parts of my company about staying when it gets tough, because no one pays me because of the accolades I have. They might bring me in to speak for the accolades, but what they're actually asking me when I get there is, what made you stay? And how can a little bit of that rub off on our culture and our team as well? And so now I've been able to create a business because I stayed, not because I ran. And so I have, now we have 3 children, 5, 3, and 1. And a lot of the lessons I learned in football helps me parent them. Now, I only have 1 son. Maybe he plays football, maybe he doesn't. But I think the principles are universal. And so I'll give you a really quick story. Our daughter, about 2 weeks ago, was playing soccer. She didn't want to do it. And so she wants to kick the ball at home, but she doesn't like the structure of actually team sports. And so when we got there, she was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to play. She was just throwing a tantrum. And so it happened 2 times in a row. And I'm a big proponent of sports that are for everyone else. So if you're ruining the opportunity and the experience for other people, then it's time to go. We're going to first sit outside. We're going to watch everybody. We're not leaving. This isn't like vacation. We're going to watch everybody. And then she did it again for the second time. So when we were on our way home and I felt like a quit, my wife was like, we're taking her bike away. It's like, no. She loves her bike. We're going to use her bike to teach her the lesson that I wanted soccer to give her at this day and time. So we started in our neighborhood. We live in Denver, Colorado. So we're already at 5,800 feet up. And so everything is on a mountain. And so we rode down to the reservoir and she's like, this is so much fun. And I'm like, it is awesome. And so I'm looking at my watch and it's like 3 miles, but that was 3 miles downhill. So the only way to get home is to go uphill. And so she's pedaling. And so we make that loop and that turn and she's pedaling and she got that smile on her face. And the smile is slowly but surely starting to show. 3 miles later, we find our way home after kicking, screaming, fighting. And I told her when we walked in the door, because she wanted Mom, I can't believe it. He made me do this. He made me do that. And I said, the reason why we did that is because you said soccer is hard. And I said, and she's 5. And I said, Bradley, soccer's not hard. Soccer's fun. I said, life is hard. So what you told me in that moment was you needed more opportunities to strengthen your discipline, difficulty, and uncomfortable circumstances. And that's exactly what we did. So I'm not going to take what you love away from you. I'm going to use what you love to teach you the lesson.
I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really glad I live in Florida and there's not a ton of hills. So when Thomas comes down here, I don't have to ride my bike up like
because they're 18 feet elevation. 18
feet. Run over that bridge to get to the beach.
Yeah, Ringling Bridge. We can ride over that. That'll be good. That'll be good. That's amazing, right? And I think you definitely hit on something, right? Especially in today's youth sport world. And Travis and I talk about this all the time. We don't usually talk about it on the pod, but I think why not? We're here. Let's just keep rolling with it. But like, I think youth sports is a challenge right now in terms of those things where, you don't like this team, let's bounce to another team. You don't like this coach, let's just pay another coach to go do it. I don't want to be on this AAU team, let me change AAU teams, And I think there is something to that, Thomas, about sticking with it and grinding through. And, like you said, I always think about there was an analogy back in the day about like you have to have sandpaper, you have to have friction in order for the gemstones to be polished, right? Yeah. And it sounds like maybe we're losing a little bit of that, and that maybe that is the hack. Maybe that is the uncomfortable truth that people aren't saying out loud, is that like, hey, if you want a really, 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 really good program, it's like you're not sugarcoating anything. We're not making everything nice, and you're not going to get a spa day on Thursdays. Like you got to go. You got to go. And I love that. I love that structure too. I think, Travis, you can speak to this too, but like just having that really, like we say clarity is kindness all the time. And to have that clarity, I forgot what is it? What was Monday again?
Monday was tell the truth. Tell the truth
Monday. Tell the truth Monday. Here you go.
Yeah, the tape don't
Authenticity,
lie, right?
The tape don't lie. Right. And so, and then obviously competing everywhere too. I mean, that's going to iron sharpens iron type stuff. That's really incredible. And so now here you are, and you leave that environment, which was strong. And we saw, Pete goes to the NFL, and he does the same thing in Seattle, and there's tons of great, stories about his time in Seattle too. But you go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so, which is the next helmet on your shelf right over your shoulder. So what was that like going from this very championship oriented team to being a draft pick and rolling into the NFL? And it's a different beast, right? It's a totally different beast.
It's a way different beast. I think, what I said before is that when you come into college, the reason why we were so successful is because we had the common goal of own the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
A lot of times when you walk into an NFL locker room, what comes out of our mouths is we want to win a Super Bowl, but what comes out of our actions is I want to get paid.
Yep.
Those are two different focuses. And if you win a Super Bowl, a lot of times everyone does get paid. If a couple of people get paid, doesn't mean you win the Super Bowl. So there's a correlation there. And I think it's just a mindset and shift in culture. And so I think I was extremely let down with the work ethic. We had some phenomenal veteran players like Fred Taylor, who you would watch work. We had Maurice Jones-Drew. We had some really good players that were phenomenal in college, and I couldn't wait to go play on the team with them. And then you get to watch them at practice, even the game, even the lifestyle that they live. And the thing that was really shocking to me is that people were more focused and hungry to get to the NFL than people who are in the NFL focused and hungry to stay there.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest thing for me. It was almost like they said, never meet your heroes because they'll let you down every time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I experienced walking into Jacksonville, where, wait, guys, we got a game tomorrow or in 2 days. And this is the behavior, or this is the mindset, or the lackadaisical thing. So, Josh, I think one of the things that I lost when I got to the NFL, but I had it. And they say you don't miss a good thing until it's gone. It's like you had that constant positive peer pressure in college. Like where if Brian Cushing or Ray Malaluga or Keith Rivers had a bad practice, Ken Norton would say, okay, cool, Thomas is going to play. And so that kept them hungry.
Mm-hmm.
In the NFL, Thomas is not going to play because you're paying me $300,000 and you're paying this guy $3 million. So for sure, you're not going to use that. Maybe it might be a little bit, we'll give him some playing time here and there, but you couldn't necessarily, I guess, persuade the guys to try harder. And then two, in the NFL, it's everyone's independent contractors. It's not a team, right? If your team plays bad, but I play good, I'm happier than if my team plays good and I play bad. And so it was just a really weird nuance. And I also think that it was a great way for me to get introduced to business in a way of like, there are no emotions when I got cut. And I got cut several times. I mean, I pretty much tell people I was on a 5-year paid vacation So I go to a place for a year. My mom wouldn't come. My mom wouldn't come to the games because she didn't know if I was going to play that week. In fact, true story, I was in Buffalo, and I was eating my eggs, my breakfast on a Saturday morning, getting ready to walk into a morning meeting. We're playing the next day. My dad's on his way to Buffalo from Florida, and guy's standing over my shoulder, and I'm just like, this is really strange. I just feel him, but I'm gonna keep eating. And then I finished my eggs. I get ready to go turn in my dish, and the guy said, "Hey, coach wants to see you bring your playbook." And that is, doesn't matter if you're on the West Coast, East Coast, you're playing the NFC, AFC. That is your time here is done. And so I got cut after eating breakfast. They let me finish eating my eggs, thank God. But it was the day before the game.
Was it an omelet or scrambled? Did we talk?
It was just scrambled. It was just scrambled. Simple. But the part about that was they didn't care. They didn't care. They didn't care who's coming into town. They didn't care, what plans I had already made. They didn't care what my next steps were. They were going to make the best decision for the team, the organization, and whatever their agenda was. And so I think the same thing for entrepreneurship. Most of the time when an organization or company goes in your direction or in the other direction, it's not personal. It's for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so as simple and as easy as a coach could cut me after having eggs, I was like, great, I'm not going to take it personal. And I think it has served me very well after my playing career.
Yeah, we call it neutral thinking here.
Right.
It's just what's so. This is what's so, and we're not going to create a big story about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Travis, you were going to jump
Yeah,
in.
I was going to say, so Tom, again, working in the leadership space now, obviously for John Gordon and doing the work that you do. Obviously, Josh and I kind of work in that space as well. And obviously the sports world is very appealing in the business world. And there's lots of parallels, but we all know it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, business tends to be more like business. From your experience at high level sports and having been exposed to so many different leaders in sports, coaches, because so many people who are listening to this are in the business space, what would you say are those couple really important transferable skills from coaches into the business world as leaders that you feel that these are the skills that translate into kind of building that high performance culture or building that environment where people can really kind of succeed at a high level?
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, and this is a buzzword, and so I'm not trying to overuse a buzzword, but you have to have an authentic leader. I played for Pete Carroll, who was the rah-rah, couldn't wait to play rock, paper, scissors and shoot the hoops in the middle of meetings. But I've also played for Bill Belichick in New England. And I would say both, there's not a right or a wrong, it's just different.
Yeah.
But both of those coaches know who they are. And so if you're not authentic to who you are, your team's going to be able to smell it. So if you're trying to be tough and like a David Goggins, but you're soft as hospital cotton, that's gonna seep out, as a coach, as a leader. And so you have to be yourself. And the next part is, what's the culture you want to create? And every day you're doing one of two things. You're either creating it by choice or by chance. So you're intentionally creating the culture that you want. Bill Belichick wanted to make sure that nobody was safe. Bill Belichick wanted to make sure that everyone was going to be accountable. Didn't matter if your number was 12, if your number was 55, like a junior Seau, if your number was, number 50, number 26, it didn't matter. Everyone in that building was going to be accountable, himself included. So the third part is that leaders must go first. If you do not exemplify the culture you want to have, no one else will follow it. And so a lot of times, I think with a lot of mediocre leaders, they're not exemplifying it. So it's like parenting, right? More is caught than taught. So if you're doing it on a daily basis, people will pick up on it. Oh, this is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it, then it's going to be half in, half out, and a lot of people are going to get blinded by the lies or what we're actually not supposed to be doing. And it's Travis, the thing that I've seen the most is that the leaders that I've worked with want to know how to get better. And I don't always think that coaches are always trying to get better.
Yeah.
And that's just my personal thought. I think the leaders that I've worked with, because sports is a season by season, contract by contract, like investment. And now if we talk about going back to like the college landscape, you can get paid to sit at home. Like, why would I, why would I want to try and lose my hair? Like if I can get paid to sit at home. And I think leaders in the business world that I've worked with, this is how do we win this year so that we can roll that momentum into next year? And then how do we continue the success? And so a lot of the questions that I'm fielding are, well, after you guys won one game or after you were leading a conference, how did you guys stay motivated? How do I keep my team on this high of what's the rhythm and balance of, guys, we're doing really well and we can do so much better. And so it's that love and accountability piece that I've seen that has been very transferable into the business world.
Yeah, it makes sense. What did you mentioned, Bill Belichick holding number 12 accountable, number 55 accountable. What did that look like? What did that sound like? Because I think that's an interesting thing too. Like, I think sometimes leaders understand accountability, but maybe they don't understand how to hold people accountable.
Yep. So we're sitting in a meeting and the room's completely dark. You have offense sitting on one side, defense sitting on another. And it was Wednesday. So Wednesday's your first install day in the NFL. And we're playing, I don't know, let's call it the Miami Dolphins. Don't quote me, but sounds about right. So we're playing Miami Dolphins, and Belichick's up there saying, this is the player we need to look out for. These are the kind of plays that we have to be aware of, etc. And so it says, Brady, because he didn't call him Tom, he just called him Brady. Brady, who's their defensive coordinator? Tom says, so-and-so. And he goes, how do you know him? He's like, I don't know. He's been with the Miami Dolphins for the last 3 years. Okay, who was he with before that? The Minnesota Vikings. Okay, Tom, who has he been with before that? Basically, what he was getting at was, Tom, you saw this guy when he was at Michigan State and you were at Michigan. So what he was trying to do is saying, hey, we need to not just know our opponent for who is coaching us against us this week. We need to know what are the idiosyncrasies of that coordinator from way, 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 way back.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking of that, oh my gosh, if you ask me, where am I supposed to line up in a specific defense, I might pee down my pants. But you're going to ask all of us in this room, and Tom Brady in particular, where does he know this defensive coordinator from 15 years ago when he played with them against them at the University of Michigan? And I think in that moment, because that was during my first year that I got there, I was thinking to myself, everybody be on your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a surprise. Yeah. Even it was surprising, but it wasn't a surprise because, again, leaders know who they are and they exemplify that day in and day out.
Yeah. What I love about that, Thomas, and I was thinking about it too when you were talking about Pete Carroll and laying out the season, and then, hey, we're not gonna walk or jog during practice, right? We're gonna sprint from session to session. Well, it's really easy to say that that's what we're going to do as a program, as a leader, but it's like Pete Carroll is the one that has to show up and have that energy and model that every single day. Yeah. And Bill Belichick has to be the one that can answer every question that he's asking Brady and anyone else to basically model to the whole team that this is the standard that we're going to set.
Yeah.
And I am meeting that standard every day. And so now you have to too. And obviously we all know in the business world, it's one thing to talk about a standard and then look at our leaders and say, well, are you meeting the standard? Am I meeting the standard? Because it's going to be a lot harder for me to hold someone accountable if they can look at me and say, well, what are you doing? So so what, as you help leaders, Thomas, how do you, that authenticity piece, I love it. How do you help leaders from a modeling standpoint? Mm-hmm. And what's that look like?
So we ask them the back of the napkin question, right? So I'll say, hey, you take this piece of paper right here and you write down, how are you showing up? Give me 3 ways you're showing up, right? This is how I want to do. Then I want you to take it to 5 people who are in your executive team. And I want you to ask them on different pieces of paper, napkins. And I want you to say, hey, how am I showing up? And so that one, I have to be vulnerable enough for you to give me an answer. And I also have to set up the rules of engagement of I can't demote you, promote you based on your answers, right? There has to be that trust and transparency there. And the question that we ask is, what have they said on how you're showing up? And then what's the difference or the same in how you said, this is how I'm choosing to show up? And I think that when that gap is narrow and very, very tight with who a leader says they are and who the people who they're leading says that leader is, And then that's when you get the authenticity of the leader, but also you get the success of the organization. Because, I think I was listening to something a few years ago and it just made total sense because I think like you guys, right? How can we constantly get better? How can we grow and learn? It was Warren Sapp talking about the difference between John Gruden and Tony Dungy. He said, John Gruden taught them how to win in Tampa. Tony Dungy allowed them to win in Tampa. And the thing is that when a new coach, you're trying to shift or change your culture, there's going to be a lot of reprimanding. There's going to be a lot of, hey, you're going to have to pull the horse. I know leaders are supposed to push from the back, but sometimes you have to pull the horse. When you get a new coach going into a new organization, the coach isn't there because the team did great the year before. The coach is there because everybody who was there before got fired. They kept the same players. So it's, hey, fellas, this is the way that we're going. I'm going to have to pull you. But then once you get a veteran team, if the coach, the leadership has been in the same place for the same time for a lengthy amount of time, then what you're actually going to see is that people are going to say, we've put leaders in positions on the team, in the locker room, on the field that are going to be able to exemplify that. So again, you have that positive peer pressure that's going to trickle from the top down. And then you don't have to ask, what are we doing today? You just follow the guy in front. You just follow the player in front. And so when you have a really good coach with a really good staff or a really good CEO, manager, and then you have a really good executive team, they don't need to necessarily ask the coach every single day. They just have to follow the people that have been there for a while.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
then they kind of figure it out. So this is interesting though too, because you did make that switch from playing in the NFL and being a professional athlete to now being an elite, executive coach. So what can you tell us a little bit about? I know the end of your career was not by choice; it was a injury to your neck. You go through that, and then how do you process that, and how do you find this new path?
Yeah. So how do you reinvent yourself? I think it was after I got over like the initial shock of like it's not coming back, which that was probably about a week period.
Mm.
I took a piece of paper. I think so I was in Tampa. I took my binder home, not my like play binder, but just like the agenda, the schedule. And Josh, I took the schedule that said wake up at 6:30, lights out by 11, and I just went through and I processed my day. So instead of watching film, instead of needing to get taped, instead of needing to do stretch and special teams, I started to cross out with how do I want to fill my day? Because structure is the greatest thing for all athletes. And then when you look at the athletes that are the leaders, athletes, performers that don't have structure anymore, that's when they start to find themselves in trouble. And
Right.
I didn't want to be part of that statistic. And so I just started to fill out my day using the same schedule that had allowed me to be a part of a $14 billion a year industry. And I said, I can do something well with this same thing. So I just was like, well, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to work out, I'm going to read, I'm going to study, I'm going to focus. But I did a lot of studying on athletes, the Magic Johnsons, the even the Eddie Georges who had made successful transitions, people who owned things. And then I studied the ones that it didn't go right for them. And what I found the biggest thing was having a purpose. So people who retire from sports, people who exit out of a, 8-9 figure business, if they don't have a scoreboard, they're going to get in trouble, right? Whether that's going to be internally or externally. So you need a scoreboard. You also need a team. And thirdly, you need to find a new position. And we're all in positions, whether it's at home. There's 4 other people in my house. I'm 5th in line on that totem pole. I'm at the very bottom. I know my position at my house. But you also need now if I'm a position, because that gives me a role and a responsibility. Yeah, I need a team because that gives me something to collaborate with, something to communicate with, something to connect with. And then I need a scoreboard because if I don't see that I'm able to put points on the board, does my existence even matter? And so once I was able to identify those 3 things, I felt as though I was still bothered by what I just lost, but I was also excited about what I can do next. And so then it was like, well, wait a minute, who are you going to speak to? Who's going to be your clients? Who's going to be the organizations? And I said, if you have 2 ears and a heartbeat, like I want to speak to you. And so I made up my mission and my scoreboard, and I was 27 years old, and I said, I want to be the person everybody speaks to right before they get ready to do something they don't even believe they can do.
Oh, I love that.
And so that is my purpose. That's my mission statement for my business, for myself. And so I believe that anyone, anytime, anywhere can become anything they want to be if they're willing to put in the work. And so the team that I'm a part of is the John Gordon team. And we have phenomenal facilitators, keynote speakers. And it feels like I'm on a team again. It feels
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? We're going to change the world one person, one school, one organization at a time. And so whether that's a keynote speaking engagements, whether that's a workshop facilitation, a training, an executive coaching opportunity. And then what's my position is I'm a middle linebacker. I stood in front of 10 other guys playing football and said, if we're up by a whole bunch, this is what we need to keep doing so we can win. If we're down, I need to help them see how possible the impossible is. And so I'm just communicating from a defensive coordinator, whether that's a person of contact, in an organization, event planner, the CEOs, it doesn't matter who it is. I'm just relaying and communicating a message just like I've always done.
I think all of us, Thomas, I think each of us here, I think we have a deep sense of purpose in the work that we do. And also it's not unusual to work with a lot of high level leaders, especially in business, where you ask them what their purpose is.
Yeah.
And what are you talking about? So as you work with those, that's like the sweet spot, right? That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
As you work with leaders, what does that conversation, that connection look like for you?
Yeah. So the thing that I love to have the opportunity to do is to ask exactly the small, meaningless questions, right? What's the thing that lights you up?
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times it's like, well, it's the bottom line. It's the checks and balances. It's, are we in the red or are we in the black? It's like, well, that's not what I'm talking about. And most of the leaders who I see that are pursuing excellence, so they're working on the business, not necessarily in the business, but they never take time to pause and ask themselves, what makes the engine keep pushing forward internally? And that's the things that I love to talk to them about. And I always see it when the light goes off and goes, wait a minute, I'm an and both in this equation. I'm not an either or. Well, on the weekends, I'm a person, but during the week, I'm a business owner, or I'm a CEO, or I'm a leader. And it's like, no, you're both of those people. And what I learned in football, any part of your game that you are ignoring, it will diminish.
Mm.
So if you're ignoring, hey, I am slow when it comes to this particular skill set. I am incompetent when it comes to this particular skill set, but I'm only going to focus on this over here. This is eventually going to leave me, and this is going to be exposed. And the same thing what happens to leaders is that they just focus on work, focus on work, focus on work. What happens to their family? Focus on work, focus on work, focus on work. What happens to their health?
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on my family, focus on my family, focus on my family. What happens to work? I'm going to focus on my health, focus on my health, focus on my health. What happens to work? And so we need to do this thing, which is a not balance, but it's a rhythm. And a good friend of mine, John Peterson, always says, he says, every single one of us that are owning a business, operating a business, are like the magician that's spinning the plates on the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need to spin this plate over here a lot of times because you've already built the momentum on these plates over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you're not spinning this one over here, now that one, that's flowing. Okay. Now you go to the family, or now you go to the business. Now you go to the finances. Now you go to the health. Now you go to the mental well-being. And so it's an and both equation of helping leaders understand that you're not just one dimensional.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I love that. And figuring out which plates that we don't even need to let spin anymore. Right.
Right.
Just let them go.
Yeah.
Right. They're not serving us anymore.
Right. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
So here you are. I want to kind of come back to this. Here you are. You've left sports. You're writing stuff down in the journal. How long does it take you to get like up and running, man? Like how long is before your first client? Who is your first client?
Yeah.
And then how did you kind of hook up with John and the whole John Gordon group? I've met John before. He's phenomenal. Obviously, his books are well read in the baseball community. I think every baseball coach has read every single one of his books. And then what got you started writing, all those types of things?
Yeah. So when I first got done playing, it was July of 2012. And man, for me, my biggest source is my faith. And so I was headed to church. I had just had my last practice on a Thursday, flew home on a Friday, was at church on a Sunday. And I walked through the church doors, and it was the worship team playing this song, Amazing Grace. But there was this part I'd never heard. It said, "My chains are gone and now I'm free."
Mm.
And I mean, you guys know when you get those knocks and you're like, okay, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I was just sitting there listening to the pastor preach. And I remember specifically the feeling, the hearing that I got, the confirmation when God said, "You thought football was your purpose, but it was just your passion to lead you to your purpose." And it was like I got these 2 bombs within 30 minutes. And it was just like, it soothed my soul. Not saying it was easier after that, but at least there was clarity.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, this wasn't just I did something wrong, so now I'm being punished. And I think a lot of times people, when they get moved from one mission to the next, they feel like it's punishment as opposed to a requirement. And that's what exactly that was. And then 3 months later, I was on Fort Seal, the military base in Oklahoma, speaking to the military wounded warriors. And that person who invited me to come speak heard me speak a month before I retired, speaking to kids in Orange County. I was speaking to kids in Orange County, and the person saw me speak. And that back then it was like Facebook Live, but I don't even know if it was live, but he was in Oklahoma. I know, right? I'm like dating myself.
Facebook
I'm
on
like, well, there was
delay.
live,
Yeah.
but there wasn't Instagram, but there was Facebook. There was some type of streaming thing that he said he saw it. He said, "Hey, man, we got to get you out here to tell your story." Lo and behold, a month later, I would be retired, not knowing that I was already prepared for what was next, even though I didn't know I was being prepared for anything that was going to come next. And so for about 6 years, I was just kind of doing the whole rinky dink, kind of pay me what you can. Luckily, I had a couple of dollars still saved from the NFL. I ended up selling my condo. And Travis, I had the same kind of layout in downtown LA, the Arts District. One, to change the scenery, but also two, to supply the needs of my life so I can continue to pursue this purpose of speaking. I wasn't blessed to make 50 million, but I had a couple of dollars that allowed me to, and I moved to the west side of LA, to the beach, Marina Del Rey, and just changed my
Beautiful area.
environment, change the scenery, but I also started to change. And in that time process, I started going to intense therapy, healing the childhood trauma, because what I found out, Josh, is that football wasn't a sport I loved. Football was a person I loved, and that person was my dad. So I didn't have my dad growing up. So I found joy in the same things that I believe that a father can give to their children, which is, the attaboys, hard work, the discipline, the commitment, sacrifice, all those things football gave to me. So when I left football, I actually started to rekindle the relationship with my dad and resolve those things. But therapy really helped me with that, and understanding that just because you had a hard life doesn't mean you're a bad person. And so I was starting this journey of self-discovery, introspective. I mean, the work and the growth. I mean, I talk to my therapist even to this day, and he's like, "Man, I'm just so proud of you because you took the same apply to football when you didn't know it, and you applied that to your own personal development. And now I'm able to heal and help people the same way I was able to get healed and help." And so after that 6-year journey of just doing it on my own, I meet so Yogi Roth, who's a good friend of mine, is an incredible human being, man, just a godsend. We sit down, have breakfast, and at the time we were doing it like once or twice a year, and just like, "Hey, what do you need help with? What are your thoughts? How do you need to grow? What's just like one of those deep individual conversations?" And I said, "This year, Yogi, it was December 2017. And I said, man, I need a coach. I had a coach in high school that got me to college, coach in college that got me to the NFL. I need a coach in speaking." And he goes, "You know John Gordon?" And I was like, "No, man, I don't." He's like, "Energy Bus?" I go, "Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about." And so right there, as we're eating, drinking coffee, he's texting John, puts us in a group chat. John so happened to be in LA at the time, and he says, "Hey man, I'm getting ready to walk on the beach on January 1st. I do this thing every year where I go into the ocean and I jump out and I say this one word." And he's like, "Why don't you come join me?" And I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll come join you." So I wake up early. I mean, it's almost like the Eric Thomas guru story. Like, how bad do you want to breathe? But it wasn't. It was, I mean, it's not, but it's funny when now listening to that story and then also knowing the same story between John and I. And so I remember going out, jumping in the water. John comes up with his word. I was just trying not to get eaten by sharks and jellyfish and stuff. So I didn't even have a word. But I remember having the conversation, like, after we got out the water. John's very intentional with his conversations and communication and connection. And he said, "How's your heart and soul doing?" And I was like, wow, that's a deep question for a first time hanging out. And I said, John, I'm tired. And he goes, you're tired? He goes, like, what do you mean? I go, man, like speaking, I feel like everybody's pulling on me, draining me. He goes, how many times did you speak last year? And I go, 25. And he goes, like, so like twice a month? I go, yeah. He goes, well, I just spoke like 95. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. This is different. There's levels to this. And I think before, it's like any sport, the level that you're on thinks that you think you're at capacity, but there's always another level. It's like JV, varsity, pros, all of that. And John just showed me that moment. I'm like, I really shouldn't be tired. And this is the thing that he said with me, stuck with me, and I'll never forget it. He says, Thomas, the reason why you're tired is because you're focused on the fruit of speaking, not the root of speaking. And he's like, you're focused on what it can give you. You're focused on how you're supposed to feel after you do it, not how you're supposed to feel while you're doing it. What's the purpose that you're doing it? He says, can you speak once a week? And I was like, dang, John, that's 52. That year alone, I went from 25 speaking gigs to 44. And every year have grown since, all because of that one thing. He said, fall in love the same way you did with football. When you played football, you played once a week. You started at what, 7, 8 years old? You got paid at what, 23? That's a long time of doing it for free. And so that first year, I probably did 90% of my speaking engagements for free. But what I learned is that the tenacity, the art of speaking, encouraging, developing people, training people. And then from there, I've just really reached out to John on a basis of, hey, what are the things that I'm supposed to be learning at this stage of my career? And a lot of people don't have those mentors where they can ask those real questions. And so I asked John, what am I supposed to be learning? What am I supposed to be doing? He goes, write a newsletter. Okay, I'll write a newsletter. He'll go, start an online community. All right, start an online community. Okay, now you need to have retreats. All right, I'll have retreats. Like, you need to develop the relationships with leaders, find out their problems, give them their answers before they even know that they're problems. All right, that's what I'll do. And so I've been so lucky because on that day I talked to Yogi, I got exactly what I wanted, a coach. When I talked to my high school coach, how do I get to the college coach? How do I get to the NFL? John, how do I get to your level? And so I know I'm extremely blessed beyond to have John and people who have poured into me as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's two things that jump out at me right here, Thomas. So number one is you were having eggs in Buffalo and you got cut. You were having eggs with Yogi and you got John. So God takes care of us without a doubt, man. It's all about it. Like, just be careful when you're eating eggs. I'm just telling you right now,
Yes.
Thomas, because you're going to be eating eggs and like life stuff is going to be happening for you, brother. It's going to be amazing.
Eggs.
If you're going to make that omelet, we need to break a few eggs, guys.
So I know also too, I don't want to like forget about this, but you have a retreat coming up, right? And so tell us a little bit about that and what would happen at a retreat. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. So for us, I have an online community called The Winning Edge. Right now, more than ever, I personally believe that men have lost their winning edge. And so what a winning edge is the thing that you do that makes you the most competitive, most efficient, highest achiever. And so it goes from an online community where we meet bi-weekly for 4 months, and then we'll meet in Palm Springs, and it's a transformative experiences. And I'll generalize this, maybe get, scolded later at some point, but I think that women connect face to face. They can go have a cup of coffee, go sit around. And my wife went to a party last night, made some candles, and she came home like she was on cloud 9. And men have to, we grow side by side. And so one of the things that my retreat does is that there's a shared struggle, which allows us to all get on the common ground. It's like, hey, Josh, was that tough for you? Yeah, that was tough for you. So we do rock climbing. We do tactical shooting. We do personal and private boxing lessons. Here in Colorado, we hiked the Manitou Incline, which is 2,700 steps, and you go like 2,700 feet in elevation from like 62 to 8,500 feet. And then in Palm Springs, the thing that we're doing is that we'll do some BMW driving. But the whole aspect is if men can do share a struggle, we have a conversation about that struggle. So when we were doing tactical shooting, the question was, what are you taking aim at? What are you taking aim at right now in your life? Because a lot of guys go, well, I'm not taking aim at anything. I'm raising the kids. Again, leaders, this is not an either or situation. This is an and both. You can take aim at something and be a present father. You can be in the fight of your life, right? And still show up as a champion and as a winner. So the thing that we're doing, like I said, in Palm Springs is the conversation is going to be around, what are you climbing? So we're going to do rock climbing. and then we'll do a little bit of rappelling. So what do you need to let go of? What do you need to let loose so that you can rise to the highest level, and secure your winning edge? And then the driving aspect, which is going to be so cool, because I drive like an old grandmother, and my wife and kids will tell you. But
the thermal club, is that where you're
Me
going?
too.
so
Me-
yeah,
me
so I
too.
went to the thermal club. So yep, so the BMW is right there on the
Yeah.
same premises, and it's going to be, what are you racing towards? Like,
Mhm.
what's the sense of urgency? What's the finish line that you're currently running? And so again, it's just to, one, take a pause out of life and say, hey, we're going to focus on you. And so we have this amazing villa, sleeps 20 people, private chef. We have a private villa with workouts, and it's just going to be an awesome time, man. For one, men to reconnect with themselves and encourage one another. And so it's like, well, I've already got my winning edge. It's like, well, are you coming to multiply it? How are you multiplying your winning
Yeah.
edge? I
Yeah,
don't
we
know.
say you don't have to be sick to get better.
There
That's
you
exactly
go.
right.
There
You
you
know?
go.
So,
Yeah.
I
So
love
it's
yeah.
going to be awesome, man.
That's awesome. What are the dates on that, and how do people find out about it?
Yeah, so the dates are February 20th through the 22nd in Palm Springs, California. You can find out more about it on our website, which is thomasrwilliams.com. There's a tab that will say the winning edge. And so then you'll be able to find the winning edge retreat.
I love
Awesome.
it. Well,
That's so
Thomas,
good.
what we love to do here, because this is the Success Leaves Clues
Love
Leaves
that.
clues.
podcast, is that we want to tell you what clues, a few of the clues that Josh and I heard based on your sharing, which was amazing. And yeah, and these are clues that anyone listening to this podcast, I'm sure you have your own clues as well, but these are kind of universal clues that hopefully each of the leaders are taking and putting in their bag. So, Josh, what do you got to kick us off?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I'll take the first one and I'll pass it right back over to you. But purpose, purpose, purpose. I think that jumps out at me. Even just in your here we are. We're having like sidebar conversations, Thomas, earlier, and it's like, no, this is not a sidebar conversation. We're gonna be purposeful about what we're talking about today. My time is valuable, and we're gonna make it last and make it important. So I think one of the things that really jumps out at me is you are a man who does things with purpose and on purpose. As a result, that has led to a massive amount of success in your life.
Yeah, love that. And I love, as you talked about sort of other kind of leaders and coaches that had an impact on you, the intentionality of Pete Carroll.
Mm,
Clearly, there's a ton of intentionality in the Bill Belichick's of the world. The authenticity piece that you talked about, being true to who you are, knowing who you are, being intentional around it. And then I think that, like, the last 10 minutes, if anyone goes back and listens to the last 10 minutes, Thomas, your experience and your journey, your own evolution as a person and as a leader, um, your vulnerability and your curiosity and the humility to allow yourself to grow and transform, and that's what great leaders do. It's that that evolving process is constant. And it's funny, you're jumping out of the water, you can't remember what your word was. Like, my word for the year was 2025 was evolve.
yeah.
I don't know what that looks like, and I don't know. Right? I don't know, maybe I should have chose a different word. I don't know. We're almost at the end of the year, but there's definitely been some evolving going on. But like, you just exude so much genuine willingness to be curious and grow, and it's proof in the life that you're living.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question for you guys. So, Success Leaves Clue is the title, which I love it because it does. I'll ask both of you, what is a big clue that has led to your success that you've received? You either learned it, you listened to it, you heard it, you read it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Russell Wilson, the co-founder of our company, he has a foundation called the Why Not You Foundation. And I think I grew up on a dirt road in upstate New York. I have no business being in a clubhouse when we're winning the World Series in 2016. I have no business talking to people like you or Russ or, people that I work with. I have no business hanging out with a guy like Travis who worked with the U.S. men's national team in Qatar, went to the World Cup. I have no business doing that, but why not me?
Mm,
And so I think that has always kind of been a thought process of mine. Like, there's no rules written. There's no rules written about what I can and can't do. It's just what I decide. So it's like I'm living a life by design versus a life by default, right?
yeah.
And so for me, I think the one of the things for my success is I don't know, it's bitten me in the ass every once in a while, but it's kind of like screw it. Why not? I remember growing up. You remember Risky Business movie?
Yeah,
of course.
Remember, sometimes you just got to say, what the F?
Yes.
And that's kind of been me. I've just kind of, hey, why not? Let's just go try it. We'll see what happens. Like, why did I work in IndyCar? Why not? Let's go see what happens, right? Why did I work with University of Southern Cal? Why not? Let's go see what happens, right? Why did I work in baseball? Why not? Let's just go.
I love that too, Josh. I'm going to find this because when you came and talked to us, there was a couple of quotes. But as you're saying that, the why not you, the why not me it's more faith than fear. Like everything inside of everything you said, it's all about faith. Like, why not take this next step? It's not about what if it doesn't work. It's not about, why somebody else is going to do it better. It's like, why not me? And there is so much faith in that proclamation than there is fear.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's awesome, Josh. I love that.
And before Travis answers, I know it's because you get to do a podcast with me. I get that. But let's get to the real answer.
That's the obvious run, right? The obvious one. So the fake one then is, I think the space that I keep coming back to, Thomas, is trust and surrender. Like trust and surrender. And I think for me, the shift for that happened when I found improvisation and learned improvisation and started performing improvisation. I realized that so much of my life up until that point was resisting adversity, resisting uncertainty, resisting kind of the hard battle. I could give you a ton of excuses and I could say like things aren't fair. And I think fully living and learning and understanding what yes and is all about it's that I call it radical acceptance, radical collaboration with reality.
Yeah.
And then how beautiful and powerful life is when you accept and then build.
Yes.
Accept and respond.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing today if I didn't think that I was funny and to find out that I'm not funny. So I had to unlearn being funny so that I could learn yes and be authentic, which is actually ends up being a lot funnier. So that's what I got.
Those are beautiful. Yeah, Josh. So my thing that you left me with the last time we spoke and you spoke to the group was 5 seconds. That's all it takes. Just takes 5 seconds. And you said, when you talked about how do I win today? Because that intentionality piece, there's so many times, and I just recently had to make this a change. So at USC, we were great halftime adjusters. We would like almost be losing our halftime with the team in the first half and adjustments. And so I think Coach Carroll and the rest of the coaching staff really shared that with us collectively and individually. And so I just had to make a change I was up in the morning, 5:00. Let me read for 30 minutes. Let me go work out. And then I got to get home because the kids got to take them to school. I was like, I'm starting my whole entire day in a rush. And then I get to the end of the day and I'm exhausted. What? And literally I was living like this for like 6 straight months and I was grinding and so this last week I said, no more. I'm going to be at home. I'll do those things. Like I'll get my reading, but I'm not going to start my day in a rush. And it was exactly what you said, is that how do I win today? And that's how I win today, by not starting my day in a rush. And so I'm setting my intentions, right? Number one things about winning today: decide instead of live by default. Set your intentions today, every day. That's Josh Lafrac.
Ooh, he's calling me, Travis.
I love that's a mic drop right there.
It is. Well, thank you, T. Williams. You have been a blessing in my life now since I've met you in, I believe it was 2011, 2010 back then. So, nearly 15 years, you and I have been crossing paths, and it's just been just awesome, man. And every time I get to spend time with you, I was like, I just want to spend more time with you. I mean, it just boils down to that. So I really appreciate you coming on today, Travis. You want to take us home? Wait, ThomasRWilliams.com? Is that where people are finding you?
ThomasRWilliams.com.
ThomasRWilliams.com. And the retreat is the Winning Edge in February. It's drive a BMW real fast.
Nice.
Pedal to the metal.
I love that.
Among other things.
And, Josh already said it, but Thomas, we love to end every Limitless Minds podcast with the wise words of, you don't need to be sick to get better. Josh, boom, there we go. Next to you. There we go. Thanks, Thomas.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.